Hello, welcome to Continental Prime, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria's economic capital. The headlines for this hour. Major parties in South Africa make promises ahead of local government elections. 34 killed as gunmen and injured 7 others in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna. Mali's interim prime minister says presidential and legislative elections could be pushed back. Details shortly. For viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is Continental's Prime. I'm Sulaiman Alede. Campaign season is fully underway ahead of the local government elections in South Africa. The country's major parties have launched their election manifestos. The Economic Freedom Fighters and Democratic Alliance have both promised to prioritize services. This evening, the ANC launched its manifesto with the party promising corruption-free local governance. Joining me now to unpack some of the major promises made by the parties is political analyst Ongama Timka. Ongama, good to see you. And, we've seen some big promises from some of the big political parties in South Africa. Now, looking at the DA's manifesto's launch, what stood out to you?
Good evening, Sulaiman, and also your viewers. So there are a number of things. I mean, South African political parties have got a general consensus on, one, what the nature of our problems are as a country and what the prospective solutions are. The only differences are what they emphasize as their role in ensuring that they deliver on those things which we all accept are needed mostly. So the Democratic Alliance's manifesto was mainly about how they will take the gains they have made in the Western Cape province of South Africa into the rest of the country, and they are campaigning on a platform of good governance. And they are basing that on the fact that many municipalities under the governing party, the ANC, are in a state of collapse, confirmed by the Auditor General of the Republic. And so they are promising to voters that what they have gained in the Western Cape will be what they offer to municipalities throughout the country. In a nutshell, that's what differentiates them from the rest of the political opponents within the political space.
Slowly but surely, they seem to be gaining momentum. The EFF goes into this election with plans to run some municipalities, not just to enter coalitions. Now, do you think their manifesto will get any mayoral, change?
Any?
If their manifestos get any major change?
Sure. So the EFF uses a very bottom-up approach in terms of what it conceptualizes to be the problems and offers solutions that are state-centric. So it sees a lot of role for the state in terms of stimulating the economy. It interprets the fundamental problem in South Africa to be one of social justice and oppression, and as a result of that, wants to use the state to transform socio-political economic life. One of the policy positions that have attracted a lot of media attention are their plans to build low-cost housing, which in South Africa is designated for the poor in affluent areas. So that's the extent to which they want to influence property relations in South Africa. They also propose a wealth tax, among other things. So it's in tandem with their 7 cardinal pillars which they use to position themselves strategically as the ultimate revolutionaries or the ultimate socialist political party that's left after the ANC sort of abandoned that trajectory because of the trappings of being in power.
Let's go back now to the ANC, which has promised the people better services and what it calls less corruption. Is this a believable tale to the South African people?
So the ANC has been the governing party since 1994 in the majority of provinces and municipalities in South Africa. It suffered a big dent when it lost major metropolitan municipalities in the 2016 local government elections. And it interpreted that to be a disapproval by the public of the rampant corruption within the party. We know that that trend continued into the 2019 general election. So it's coming on a back foot here, knowing that it cannot communicate its message or land its political communication in a way that suggests that it is devoid of the problems which they know the electorate associate with the ANC. So while the Democratic Alliance promises coming to do the good they have done in the Western Cape, and the economic freedom fighters promise taking the activist stance that they've had in the rest of the country, the ANC is on an apologetic front, even though it is firm as far as what it offers in its own manifesto. I think it understood that it could not do so in a way that suggests that there's been no context of state capture, state collapse, and reversing some of the gains that were made in the immediate in the 90s and 2000s when it comes to getting a good administration both at the national and local municipal level.
Tika, many thanks for unpacking this for us.
Thank you.
Now, a policewoman, Nomia Ndlovu, accused of murdering 5 relatives and a boyfriend to cash in an insurance claims, has appeared in court. Prosecutors say that between 2012 and 2017, the suspect's cousin, sister, boyfriend, niece, nephew, and a relative were found dead. They had been bludgeoned, strangled, and shot. Ndlovu is the main suspect behind their murders. She is accused of taking out life and funeral insurance in the victims' names and claiming the money after their death. Now, the United Nations World Tourism Organization was established on September 27, 1980 to create awareness on how tourism affects social, cultural, political, and economic values globally and the role of tourism within the international community. While many observe World Tourism Day, some use it as a reason to appreciate nature and creation. News Central's Chidima Wosu tells us more in this report.
September 27th of every year marks World Tourism Day. It is a day set aside by the United Nations to foster awareness among the international community on the importance of tourism and its social, political, and economic value.
Dear all, today we recognize the power of tourism for inclusive growth. Tourism can help our societies recover from the impacts of the pandemic. Growth must benefit every part of our diverse sector, from the biggest airline to the smallest family business, and from the largest cities to the smallest rural communities. Looking to the future, inclusive decisions will be key transforming our sector for the better. It will deliver tourism that is fairer, greener, and more resilient. I warmly invite all our members and affiliate members, as well as governments, destinations, and businesses to join us in making this day. Happy World Tourism Day to all.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had a massive social and economic impact around the world, with heavy fall of international demand amid global travel restrictions, including many borders fully closed to contain the virus. look forward to that special moment when we spend time with families, hang out and relax. But unfortunately, due to the rate of the COVID-19 pandemic, this has proved abortive, as a lot of countries have had to shut down their tourist centers, and this has affected both developed countries and underdeveloped countries. As you can see, I'm right here at one of the tourist centers in Lagos State, Nigeria. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not here as usual, of course due to the spread of the disease. We spoke to a couple of people concerning this, and this is what they had to say.
Most Nigerian beaches are always crowded. It's a normal thing. So because of the pandemic, people don't want to be in crowded places.
And two, because of the insecurity in our country presently.
I think the reason why people are not much or they are not allowed to come to the beach like that is because of the COVID-19, and the reason being that they don't want people to be affected with it. So I think there's a limit of people coming to this site than before.
The world has really changed because of this COVID-19. No fun. The fun is not like before.
The theme for 2021 World Tourism Day is Tourism for Inclusive Growth. Tourism has a unique ability to make sure nobody is left behind. The COVID-19 pandemic represents an opportunity to rethink the future of the tourism sector. Happy World Tourism Day. Chidima Nwosu reporting for News Central.
Now, Chiamaka Obwekwin joins me now. She is the CEO and founder of Social Prefect Tours. Well, good to have you, Chiamaka. Now, how would you describe the state of tourism in Nigeria and Africa? Chiamaka, if you can hear me, you have to unmute yourself because I can't hear you.
Apologies for that.
No, that's fine.
Thank you, Suleiman, for having me. Good evening. Okay, so you asked what is the state of tourism in Nigeria and Africa. So to be honest with you, those are actually two different questions. The state of tourism in Nigeria is quite deplorable, as right now there's little or no support from the government for tourism, in Nigeria, and that has greatly affected how tourism should grow. In many other African countries, for example, Kenya, Mauritius, Seychelles, Tanzania, we have also South Africa, and Ghana as well, which did Ghana did the year of return, which raised them a lot of tourism dollars in 2019. And that saw a lot of people coming into Ghana. So, state of tourism in Nigeria and Africa are two totally different things. For Nigeria, we have a lot of challenges. And some of the challenges that we have are lack of government support, little or no government support, because I would say that some states are trying. However, some state governments are totally unaware of the benefits of tourism to the country. Then we also have the problem of accessibility and bad roads. I mean, how would I get to that beautiful waterfall in Erin-Jesha? How would I get to Olumorok? How would I get to Yankari Games Reserves in Bauchi? How would I get to these beautiful tourist destinations that we have? Or how am I sure that if I'm going for a concert in Lagos and I want to come for that concert by road from maybe Enugu, how am I sure of the safety of the roads? And then we also have some other challenges like insecurity challenges. If not for insecurity, I think that a lot more people will be traveling within Nigeria, as there are so many beautiful attractions in Nigeria. And then we also have challenges of lack of support from the people itself. So we have Nigerians themselves do not really like to explore Nigeria. I don't know if this is because the government isn't supporting it and they are not raking in a lot of money into tourism and making it attractive to the people, or it's just because we're used to traveling abroad, traveling out of the country. However, these are just some of the challenges. And then for Africa, state of tourism in Africa is a bit different. We have countries that are doing a lot better, and then we have countries that need to rebrand themselves more. Brand Africa has been reading with poverty. So many African countries.
Let me come in here quickly, Chiamaka. Apologies, let me butt in here. But again, there must be something that other African countries are doing that Nigeria isn't doing. Perhaps we should start looking at those things. And if you say Nigerians are not patronizing some of the tourist destinations, same Nigerians have been seen to visit places in Tanzania, Kenya, and some other beautiful places. So What's the attraction outside and the distraction back home?
Okay, so the attraction outside is just the way those other countries sell their countries. Okay, so many of them have tourism pages on social media. You know how the young people right now are all over social media and are basically the impressions they get are mainly from social media. And there's a lot that those other countries are doing on that channel to attract people into their countries. For example, I'll give you an example of South Africa. South African tourism has once invited us as a company to come to their country, to explore the country, to document our travel, and to show people the beauty that South Africa has to offer, and to go back to Nigeria and bring people to South Africa. However, I don't think the Nigerian government is doing this. Not I don't think, I know for sure that the Nigerian government is not doing a lot to bring people into the country. So I think it's all about branding. Those other countries like Kenya, for example, has the brand Kenya, Explore Zanzibar, and many of all this, their branding. So I think it's very important that we brand more in Nigeria and we show Nigeria as beautiful as it is, and that would attract more people into the country.
Well, a fine place for us to leave is. We hope that the Nigerian government, as they celebrate 61 independence anniversary, they'll be listening to you, Chiamaka Obokwe. Many thanks for speaking with us. Now, in West Africa, local authorities in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna say gunmen attacked a village, killing 34 people and injuring 7 others. Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, confirmed the attack and the communique released on Monday. Arwan noted that the attack took place on Sunday. He said that the troops could put out the fire at 3 of the burning houses and rescued 6 locals from the inferno. Meanwhile, the Nigerian military says its troops killed scores of insurgents and suffered casualties among their ranks during heavy fighting around a remote army base on the border with Niger. The military on Monday said fighters from the Islamic State of West Africa Province Group attacked the base at Burkusuma in Nigeria's northwestern Sokoto state in the early hours of Sunday. The statement says the attackers, who fled across the border with Niger towards the remote settlement of Basira, are now being pursued by Nigerian and Nigerian troops working together. Now, staying in Nigeria, authorities in the southwestern state of Oyo have intercepted 751 rounds of AAA 70mm Lion cartridges hidden in sacks containing cassava flour and parboiled rice. The live ammunition was seized by the Special Assignment Team of the Nigerian Customs Service stationed in the Igbora area of the state. The acting controller in charge of the unit, Hussein Ejibunu, said drivers of the car conveying the ammunition are at large after fleeing upon sighting the customs agents. Ejibunu says the vehicles and ammunition have been deposited at the unit headquarters for further investigation. Let's go to Mali, where the interim Prime Minister Choguel Maïga says the country could push back presidential and legislative elections from late February to avoid their validity being contested. Maïga, handling a post-coup transition in the West African country, says that the date could be postponed by 2 weeks, 2 months, or a few months. He said a final date would be determined by late October. Mali's return to democracy after the August 2020 overthrow of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta is closely monitored in a region that has experienced 4 coups in 13 months, 2 of which occurred in Mali. Let's go to East of Africa, where Ethiopia's Minister for Women and Youth, Filsan Ahmed, has resigned, citing personal reasons. Filsan added that she decided, after discussing national and international issues with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, but has not elaborated on the discussion. Ms. Ahmed said she was proud of what she had achieved in her ministry. The Ethiopian Prime Minister has been facing international pressure over the war in the northern region of Tigray. Staying in the region, representatives of the United Nations have visited Puntland to discuss a range of issues, focusing on upcoming local and federal elections. During the visit, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative for Somalia, James Swan, commended the work of the Transitional Puntland Electoral Commission. The UN official was speaking on behalf of the visiting delegation after meeting with Puntland's President, Saied Abdullahi Dani, and members of his cabinet. The delegation also shared the international community's concern about the ongoing political disputes between national leaders and how this process may be addressed.
Successfully, these direct local elections would be an important step in showing the feasibility of one-person, one-vote elections in today's Somalia. We also discussed the urgency of proceeding to the next stage of the federal elections for the House of the People. We shared the international community's concern about the risks that ongoing political disputes between national leaders may pose to the process. One important theme that is common to both local direct elections and national elections is that of women's participation. It is vital that these processes respect the right of women to participate fully in all aspects of public life, and that the minimum quota of 30% women's representation is achieved in the House.
When the news returns, we'll bring you updates on the coronavirus pandemic across Nigeria, Angola, and other parts of the continent. Stay with us. Well, if you just joined us, you're welcome to watching Continental Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos. Now, protesters have called on President Saied to step down and accuse of him seizing governing powers. Now, the calls come after the president this week brushed aside much of the 2014 constitution. This gives him power to rule by decree 2 months after he sacked the prime minister, suspended parliament, and assumed executive authority. Analysts say the crisis in the country has endangered the democratic gains that Tunisians won in a 2011 revolution that triggered the Arab Spring protest. It has also slowed efforts to tackle an urgent threat to public finances. Joining me now to unpack this is Rabib Aloui, a journalist based in North Africa. Rabib, good to see you. How close are we to seeing the type of protest we saw in 2011 that ended the rule of former President Zinedine Al-Abidine Ben Ali?
Hello, it's good to be with you today. So I think we are seeing the same scene, let's say, we saw 10 years ago. Today, Tunisians are disappointed, are frustrated, but at the same time, they are anxious because they don't know what will happen next. Let's say they were happy when President Saied announced an extraordinary measures last July, on 25th of July. But right now, they are quite anxious because lately on Wednesday, he announced another extraordinary measures. So they are now quite, let's say, frustrated, and also the image of the future of Tunisia is unclear. That's why hundreds rallied in Tunisia's capital, in Bourguiba Avenue, yesterday, Sunday, calling for the country's constitution to be respected and also demanding the impeachment of President Saied. I think this reaction is expected, because President Saied, who announced an extraordinary measures, he didn't announce a roadmap. We are right now, after 2 months of these extraordinary measures, waiting for the nomination of the prime minister. We are waiting for the government. So nothing is done. At the same time, these new measures gave President Saied new power. Now he got the legislative, the executive power. So right now it's quite complicated because I think after 2 months, we really need political stability, which is not happening today. We have two rivals. We have people who are with President Saied, who uploaded his decision. At the same time, we have people who are angry and frustrated. Let's say what we saw yesterday during the protest, because we saw two different protests, people who are with and against. I think this picture, we will see it in the next...
Let me come in here quickly. Rabib, let me come in here quickly. Apologies button in there. You know, more than 100 members of Tunisia's another party have resigned, not talking about protest, against the leadership's performance. So what's the latest?
Well, this one is another issue. I think Nahda is living also a crisis inside the party, because these nearly 100 members who resigned on Saturday, they condemned the leader of the party, the leader of the party, Rachid al-Ghannouchi, decisions and reactions. So I think these members who resign, they will form another political party, and it will be another opposition against the President Kais Saied, and also the leader of the Nahda party, Rachid al-Ghannouchi. But I would like to remind one thing, that last year, in 2020, many members of Nahda party, they were against a third term for the leader of the party, Rachid al-Ghannouchi. You know, Rachid al-Ghannouchi is the leader of the Nahda since 1991. So 3 decades, he's the leader of this party. So they called the leader as autocratic, and they called for democracy inside their own party. So I think these members who resigned, we will probably in next months we will see another political party. They will be for sure in the opposition.
Rabib Aloui, journalist from North Africa, many thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Now, the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria has called for a thorough probe into the finances of Nigeria's National Lottery Commission. In a peaceful protest at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja, the staff of the Commission say about 2 billion naira has been siphoned from the agency's coffers. The workers say any attempt to raise questions over the missing funds has been met with stiff resistance by management, including gross victimization. They say they want Nigeria's federal government to bring an end to wide-scale corruption within the Commission.
We are calling on government to help us stop this brazen stealing, brazen corruption that is happening in daylight. We know that the government is fighting corruption, and we are here asking that, look at us in your fight for corruption. Come and look into our case, because it is getting out of hand. The Commission is being robbed blind. Over 2 billion is missing, unaccounted for. Unaccounted for. We don't know where these monies are. And any attempt to ask any question to these issues, you will meet yourselves either transferred, dismissed, or terminated, or on suspension. We are calling on government because we have nowhere else to cry to. Government, come and help us. Come and rescue us. Save our jobs. Save the Commission.
Well, let's continue looking at our coverage of the coronavirus pandemic across the continent. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control says 13 people died from COVID-19 complications on Sunday, while 255 cases were recorded. In its daily update on Monday, the NCDC said the additional infections indicate an increase from the 210 cases reported on Saturday. The health agency added that the new cases bring the total number of infections in the country to 204,456, while the fatality toll increased to 2,681. The NCDC added that over 2.99 million samples of the virus had been tested. Now, a study done by Ugandan scientists has found that vaccination against COVID-19 significantly reduced death in the country. According to the study, there were no deaths recorded among fully vaccinated patients during the research period. There were also fewer deaths among those partially vaccinated. The study conducted between May and July this year used data collected from almost 1,500 patients admitted at two of the largest COVID-19 treatment centers in the capital, Kampala. The researchers from the Makerere University also found that vaccinated patients were 45% less likely to die during hospitalization. Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate dropped to 2.2% on Monday from the 4.9% recorded on Sunday after it recorded just 54 new cases from a sample of 2,501 tests in the last 24 hours. The country's health ministry says 52 of the new patients were Kenyans, 2 were foreigners, and the youngest was 2 years old and the oldest 89. The ministry also said 7 more people died from COVID-19 complications. All of them were late reports from the audit of facility records in September, those raising the total to 5,109. On Monday, the number of COVID-19 infections in Angola rose beyond the 55,000 marks after the health ministry announced 326 new cases from 2,501 tests conducted over the past 24 hours. The southern African country has now registered 55,121 COVID-19 cases from more than 986,000 samples processed. Of the new cases recorded, 186 are men, 140 women. Figures show the oldest patient is aged 102 years, while the youngest is just 5 months old. 14 new fatalities were recorded in the same period, taking the country's total number of virus-related deaths to 1,501. Botswana will extend its COVID-19 vaccinations to persons aged 30 years and above as the country continues to inoculate its population against the virus. A notice issued by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Yanga, said the vaccines currently being offered are the Chinese-manufactured Sinovac and AstraZeneca. Dr. Yanga said that the recently received Johnson & Johnson vaccines are still undergoing due diligence before being rolled out for public use. So far, more than 384,000 people have received at least one jab of the life-saving vaccines. The Southern African country has recorded over 176,000 COVID-19 infections with 2,360 fatalities. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa has reached 8.26 million, with the pandemic's death toll across the continent above 209,000. The Africa Centers for Disease Control says some 7.59 million patients across the continent have recovered from the disease so far. The agency says that South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, and Ethiopia are among the countries with the most cases on the continent. Africa CDC says Southern Africa is the most affected region, followed by the northern and eastern parts in the caseload. At the same time, Central Africa is the least affected region on the continent. Moving away from the coronavirus, the Ugandan Ministry of Health plans to reduce the age when girls can receive the human papillomavirus vaccine protecting against cervical cancer. At the moment, the vaccine is given to girls aged 9 years and older. However, the health ministry wants to start giving the vaccine to 5-year-olds. The health ministry says the decision is part of a new plan to increase the uptake of the second jab of the HPV vaccine. Failure for girls to get vaccinated exposes them to cervical cancer when they become sexually active. Cervical cancer is the most common form of cancer, killing as many as 4,300 women annually. Now, still to come, Germany's center-left Social Democrats defeat outgoing Chancellor Angela Markel in federal elections. We have details after the break. Join us again. Now, Germany's center-left Social Democrats have narrowly beaten the party of outgoing Chancellor Angela Markel in federal elections. This is according to preliminary results. SPD leader Olaf Scholz says he has a clear mandate to form a government, but his conservative rival Armin Laschet is determined to fight on. The two parties have governed together for years but are unlikely to continue. Instead, the Greens and Liberals are looking for a role in a new coalition. The Greens made history with almost 15% of the vote, even though it was well short of their ambitions. Meanwhile, Olaf Scholz says Germany's CDU-CSU alliance should be relegated to the opposition benches.
Und auch das kann und muss hier gesagt werden. CDU und CSU haben nicht nur erheblich an Stimmen verloren, sondern sie haben tatsächlich auch die Botschaft der Bürgerinnen und Bürger bekommen. Sie sollen jetzt nicht mehr in der Regierung sein, sondern in die Opposition gehen.
Now, the UK government has suspended competition law to allow oil firms to target fuel deliveries at petrol stations following recent panic buying. Officials say the move would make it easier for companies to share information and prioritize parts of the country most in need. Now, the decision follows days of long queues at the pumps after fears of disruption to the fuel supply sparked panic buying. The government has been considering using the army, but Environment Secretary George Eustace said the shortage of drivers was not a huge problem. Now let's go to my colleague who's standing by in the Business News Studios, Leko, for the business stories.
Hello and welcome to Business News on NC Continental Prime. I am Lekon Onobanjo. We start by telling you that the border between Sudan and South Sudan is set to be reopened after 11 years. This follows the two countries reaching an agreement in August to end the decade-long impasse. The announcement reflects the inseparable interdependence of the two countries who have suffered economically as a result of the closure. The borders between Sudan and South Sudan were officially erected when South Sudan took independence in 2011. A year later, Sudan and South Sudan descended into war over the disputed oil-rich area, Pantu and Heglig, which lies on their border. This led to the closure and disruption of the cross-border movement. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, supported by the Green Climate Fund and the European Union, is providing a financial package of up to 25 million euros to Bank of Africa BMCE Group to support Morocco's green transition. The financing of which a total of 18.75 million euros will be provided by the EBRD and 6.25 million euros by the GCF will be extended as subloans by Bank of Africa and its listed subsidiary to local citizens, small and medium-sized enterprises and corporates for investments in climate change mitigation and adaptation technologies. The new EBRD financing comes under the Green Economy Financing Facility in Morocco, which is supported by the GCF and will build on the successful cooperation in implementing the Morocco Sustainable Energy Financing Facility program. Let's now tell you that Egypt's central bank says it has approved the granting of licenses to enable merchants to accept contactless payments from their customers' mobile phones. It did not, however, say how soon the new system would be in place or who would be eligible to receive the licenses. Egypt's central bank has kept its key interest rates on hold on Thursday, ascribing its decision to August's inflation readings. Egypt is witnessing new legislation and regulatory changes in Egypt to help it unleash a surge in new fintech investments and change the way the country's largely unbanked citizens do business. A few hours after the official website of the upcoming Central Bank of Nigeria's digital currency, eNaira.com, went live, it has recovered and recorded over 1 million hits. This comes 1 week to the planned launch of the initiative. The development could pass as a reflection of the level of interest in the proposed digital currency. According to information made available on the website, digital currency will ensure easier financial transactions for users of eNaira and will offer opportunity for peer-to-peer payments. The eNaira serves as both a medium of exchange and a store of value, offering better payment prospects in retail transactions when compared to cash payments. Now, the Nairobi Securities Exchange All-Share Index is set to halt a 5-month winning streak in September after investor sentiment soared due to China Avangrid Group's crisis, and a local rally driven by growth in corporate earnings motivated investors to take out gains. So far, September's investors on the bourse have lost 2.5% after market valuation dropped to 2.73 trillion shillings, which is about $24.7 billion. The worst performing stocks since the beginning of September are Uchumi Supermarkets Limited, Nairobi Securities Exchange PLC, and Samir Africa Limited, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. The decline will be the second this year after a 4% drop in March. We now let you know that South Africa's petroleum refinery capacity could become obsolete within 2 years, an industry body warned on Monday, as it looks to extend the timing of new government rules meant to reduce sulfur emissions from 2023 to a later date. The South African Petroleum Industry Association, which represents major oil companies, including BP and Shell, has been in discussion with the government for years, trying to resolve a stumbling block over financing the upgrade of 6 refineries to cleaner fuels. In January, the association warned that the COVID-19 impacts meant it was unlikely oil firms in South Africa would upgrade refineries at an estimated cost of $3.9 billion, unless the government allowed them to pass the costs on to consumers or offered some sort of financial support. In other news, South Africa's retail giant Shoprite has posted a $10.27 million profit from the sale of its assets in Uganda, Madagascar, and Nigeria after it classified them as underperforming, prompting its exit. During the 53-week period ended July 4, 2021, the group made a provision of $87.89 million on loss-making stores outside South Africa, with its net debt increasing by 4% to $1.77 billion. The retailer's operations in Uganda and Madagascar yielded a combined net gain of $8.85 million, while the sale of the Nigerian subsidiary realized a net gain of $1.41 million after the business was sold at $35.89 million. And that's it on business news. NC Continental Prime continues shortly. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
We'll race into the digital team studios to see what blessings Mosugu has for us.
Yo, it's a brand new week, people, and your surest plug for all trends and reactions across social media is here to serve you all the hottest gists. My name is Blessings Mosugu. Welcome. Guys, something is going down in Big Brother Naija Season 6. Now, there have been so many twists in this year's episode, right? But this last one, is not sitting well with fans at all. So here's what happened. Sunday night's evictions had the 3 housemates with the least votes, that's Queen, Nini, and Saga, kicked out. That was normal since they had the least votes, obviously. Now, the twist that got everyone talking was Big Brother asking Pere and Angel to play a game to determine who stays through to the finals, despite obvious margins between the housemates' voting percent. Haba. Now, Pere had the highest votes among the bottom 5, that's 25.31%, and Angel followed not so closely with 14.63%. Question is, why? Hold up, let's check out some reactions. Now, UG says, how Pere managed to turn around his image from most hated housemate to one of the most rooted for should be studied in universities around the world. I agree to that. I'm sure you guys remember the whole White Money and Pere saga. Well, that's just for another day. Top tier rebranding. I stand, to be honest. Another person, Rejoice, says, Pere was supposed to feel loved yesterday after being saved. He was supposed to know he had fans. Even if he wins tonight, he'll feel like he was lucky he helped himself get to the top 5. And this is not right. Hashtag Big Brother Nigeria, hashtag Justice for Pere. I kind of quite agree with that. Now, Chioma Okafor Iheme says, the plan is to whip up sympathy for Pere, making people vote him in the finals. They, that's the production team, want Pere to win. It's obvious. Maybe they feel he has the pedigree and body build for their brand of befitting winners. Yo. That's a lot of assumption. Anyways, on to some scintillating sports news now. Anthony Joshua's reign as world boxing heavyweight champion has ended abruptly, as we know, on Saturday night, just like a deflated balloon on a sidewalk boat. Now, his opponent, Ukraine's Alexander Usyk, claimed a unanimous decision win at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in Lagos. Usyk became only the third fighter after Evander Holyfield and David Haye to win world titles at cruiserweight and heavyweight. Let's see some reactions from the fans. Jasper Anya Lewis says, I never trusted Anthony Joshua with that heavyweight title. His pattern of fighting isn't overwhelming or justifying. As soon as he wins, he'll be running everywhere in Nigeria to show all these politicians who don't even know when he started boxing. Ouch! Another person, Sin O, says, AJ needs to up his game. He doesn't fight like a champion. It seems younger bout contenders know his weakness rather than heavyweight contenders. Fury would knock Usyk out, no doubt. Fury knows he'll beat Anthony Joshua. Man, you guys really need to take a chill pill. Now, Puff and Pass 69 says, you win some, you lose some. He's still one of the best out there. Kudos, mate. We got you, bro. Well, congratulations to Usyk and better luck next time to Anthony Joshua. Well done. And finally, there appears to be some sort of panic buying in Britain as petrol stations run out of fuel. Now that's pretty bad. And it comes as a result of a shortage of truckers in the region. A critical post-Brexit shortage of lorry drivers, that's truck drivers, even as the COVID-19 pandemic eases, may sow chaos through British supply chains in everything, and I mean everything, from food to fuel, raising the specter of disruptions and price rises in the run-up to Christmas. Here's what people are saying about it. Henry Bolton, OBE, says, the fuel problem, energy shortage, failure to manage and secure borders, arguments about HS2 and chaos in NHS are nothing to do with Brexit. They all result from the greatest threat to the UK. That's the appalling lack of energy, strategic acumen, and planning ability across the Whitehall. Now, another person, Don Guillerm says, the government is now in total disarray. Only a government of staggering ineptitude can create the impression of a fuel shortage where one doesn't exist. The political pursuit of the utterly failed Brexit dogma has created this. We are witnessing the end of the UK. Whoa, that's quite extreme. Now, the last person, Sabrina Mahatsani, says, official mismanagement and nationalist ideology have brought about an acute fuel shortage in England. Locals were seen in long queues scrabbling to obtain the metered fuel in pitiful scenes. Prices and panic are rising. Now, she goes further to say, if the media reported on the UK as they do in Africa. I'm not going to say more. Well, this is where we wrap things up today on NC Trends. Don't forget, you need to follow us on at News Central TV on Instagram and Facebook. And also subscribe on YouTube for more. And also drop your comments. My name is Blessings Bosugu. Till next time.
Well, time for us to look at sports, and one man is saying goodbye to international football at the age of 30. Udoka, isn't that true?
I'm not the one retiring from football.
But you're not 30 either, are you?
Of course. Well, we're talking about the former Harambee Stars captain, Victor Wanyama. He has announced his retirement from international football. Now, the 30-year-old said on his official social media pages that he'll be retiring after he missed out on recent national team duties. Now, the current Montreal captain promised to continue supporting the team off the field. Now, the last time Wanyama featured for Kenya was in the AFCON qualifiers played in November against Comoros, when Harambee Stars lost 2-1. And Wanyama started his professional career in the Belgian league before heading to Scotland and then played in England as well. Moving over to AC Milan now, midfielder Frank Kessie is set to decide on his long-term future in January, but a move to the Premier League sits high on his priority list ahead of the expiration of his current contract. And the 24-year-old defensive midfielder sees his deal with the Rossoneri ending in the summer of 2022, and an extension is yet to be agreed. And reports have it that the player has turned down AC Milan's latest offer, and Milan have not yet given up hope of keeping the Ivorian international, although it has been communicated that an increase to the current offer will not be put forward as it stands. Now, the club's technical director, Paolo Maldini, is handling the talks, which are currently at a standstill. Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton and Leicester City are all being kept aware of the situation, and Kessie's representatives are confident that a number of clubs will make pre-contract offers in January. And lastly, still talking about racial abuse, a teenager has been charged with racially abusing Aston Villa footballer Tyrek Wright. The 17-year-old from the Northeast is accused of sending an abusive message to the 20-year-old forward on Instagram while he was on loan in February. Now, the teenager, who cannot be named due to his age, was charged under the Section 127 of the Communications Act 2003. He is due to appear at the Birmingham Magistrates Court on the 7th of October. Now, the investigation into the message has been led by the PC Sturt Ward, West Midlands Police dedicated football hate crime officer, and Wright is currently on a season-long loan with Salford City FC. We keep saying say no to racism, and a lot of footballers are actually against this by taking the knee and also pointing to the racism badge on their football jerseys. Well, that's a wrap on Sport Update on NC Continental Prime. I am Udoka Njoko.
Many thanks, Udoka. Now let's go to our weather desk for what to expect across Africa in terms of rainfall and precipitation. And as all others are, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Major parties in South Africa have made promises ahead of the local government elections in November. An attack in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna has left 34 persons killed and 7 others injured. We also told you that Mali's interim prime minister says the country's presidential and legislative elections could be pushed back. Do follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch News Central live on Star Times Channel 274, Bayview TV Channel 23, Vision 247, Free TV, as well as on YouTube. I'm Sulaiman. Many thanks for watching.